No, you either use HDMI or VGA. They're both run to the projector in case one of them doesn't have it. This is exactly what tech person. You might want to again, because sometimes it's super tight. There we go. That's it. Okay, yeah, you're good. Right, and if I'm gone, I'm sure you're. It's coming. It might be coming.
Often quite different.
Yeah, it's coming through. I know, and this is my school, it's like my old computer. Yeah, they're super different. So luckily there are a lot of people in here that right. Exactly. Have a good session. You're so welcome. My pleasure. I know.
While you're getting settled, I'm glad that I use a little mindfulness to not freak out about the dongles and all that stuff. But you can follow this along here, so if you want to pull this up, feel free. More minute just if anyone else wants to come. But yeah, again, you can follow this presentation here. And my name is Susan Zoe Greenwald. You can follow me here if you like. I'm not a big tweeter, but I do like Instagram. Every once in a while I'll tweet something. And I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a second, but I figured I'm trying not to be as much of a talker. And so let's actually start off, since you're here for mindfulness, mindful techducation, let's do a short meditation. So, how many of you guys got the Calm app? Because I know it was free for a little while, and I'll talk about that. All right, so some of you will be familiar with these beautiful backgrounds.
Welcome to this Take 90 practice. Start by finding a comfortable position. Close your eyes, and we'll take a few moments to calm your mind and body. Soften your face, your neck, and shoulders. Do your best to fully let go and relax. And turn your attention to the breath, the calming breath, the soothing breath. Take a long, slow breath, full and deep. Breathing in, I am calm. Breathing out, I'm at peace.
Yeah, so I know I definitely needed that this morning, and I've found that I've needed that at school quite a few times, as well as when I'm trying to sleep. So anyway, we will get into this. So again, for anyone who just walked in, I know I've said this a few times, but you can follow. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So, no? Should I use this? Testing. So maybe I will use this. You guys can follow along with me here. And I've just posted this whole presentation with all of the links, so don't feel like you have to write down everything. I know it's easier to do it that way. So a little bit about me. I work in Cheltenham School District. Brandon Lutz is our instructional person. He's amazing, so we're sad that he's actually leaving us. But yeah, I am a math teacher, actually, as well as in and out of technology integration for a few years. And this is kind of like a sort of a, I don't know, just a mix of my multi-dimensionalness. I like to say I'm a multi-dimensional human being. I've taught math and technology integration for like the past 15 years. And as I went on my journey, I found that I was getting super into mindfulness. So along with mindfulness, as well as teaching, I sort of came up and coined this idea of the mindful Techducator, and I'll talk about that soon. My favorite font is Avenir. Does anyone have a favorite font? Okay, yes, yeah, that's my favorite font, Avenir. And if I had to make a Venn diagram of who I am, it would look something like this over here. So I'm really big into a combination of different things. This year I'm getting my certification in mindfulness through Mindful Schools, which is a really amazing organization. If you're interested in that, I'd say check that out. So, and that's our dog. This is me and my boyfriend, and we live over near Philadelphia. It's awesome to be out here in Pittsburgh. So I want to check in before I get started with you guys. Let's check in with the grade level. So how many high school people? Okay, what about middle school people? Okay, and elementary. All right, oh, so this is a really good combination. Administrators? Anyone? Okay, fantastic. All right, and as far as the mindfulness apps go, I know, can you raise your hand if you've seen Calm or if you have the Calm app? Okay, Stop, Breathe, Think. Oh good, okay, I'm gonna talk about that. Go Noodle. Oh, I love Go Noodle. Okay, we'll talk about that as well. And Headspace. All right, perfect. So the ones I'm gonna really focus on today will be Stop, Breathe, Think, which I think is one of the best. Go Noodle and Headspace. I'm gonna mention something about the Calm app. the ComApp has actually stopped offering their free access to educators. So if you have it, I don't think it's going away, but this is one of the issues with a for-profit company, right? So I just wanted to mention that. All right, so here's our current headlines within the past 2 years, I would say. Just read through this. And this one was interesting. I don't know if you've seen this article. It was maybe a few years ago out of Texas, where a little girl had to write about an invention. And instead, she wrote about an invention that she hated. So she said that she hated when her mom and her parents would check their phone. So she actually drew a picture and crossed it out. And she says, I hate it. And so I am here. I know many of us are here in my classroom. I don't know if any of you have the same struggle, but I feel like I'm constantly telling the kids put their phone away. And I'm also like, ooh, let me check my phone. So raise your hand if you have had that issue in your school or are dealing with that. Yeah, I think we're all kind of dealing with that on some level. So why would I be talking about this at a tech conference, like a tech ed conference? I think it's really important to learn from our experience, and you can read this quote and reflect upon it, right? So all the ed tech stuff is amazing, and I love it. That's why I got into ed tech. But then, we're sort of swinging the pendulum here, where finding that balance can be difficult, and our brains are getting rewired. So this is what got me really interested in the mindfulness component. Again, these are my sort of 3 loves, and how I came up with the mindful Techducator concept. It's my interest in mindfulness combined with tech integration and equity. I work in a very diverse school, so that's also very important to me. And the cross section is this mindful Techducator concept. So what is a mindful Techducator? It's the idea that we have a balanced approach to screen time. That's for ourselves, also for within our classroom and with our students. It's technology use that's inclusive, where it's equity oriented, and it also promotes the 3 C's, which you can read: creativity, connection, and critical thinking, which I know you've heard a lot about here, as well as well-being. And it's infusing mindfulness into the teaching practice. So this is what being a mindful Techducator is all about. So during this session, this is what my plan is. I'm going to try to get you out of here at like a decent time. I know it's like the last possible section of P's slot time, but we'll get through it, and I'll try to get you out of here maybe a little early. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some free mindfulness apps for educators. Woohoo! I want to talk about mindful tech integration, how we do that, and then I want to give you some tools to help balance the screen time, as well as open up the floor to you. I always believe that the answer is in the room, and also reflection. Okay, so before I get into the apps, I want to talk a little bit about what mindfulness is. You can read the Berkeley definition, but the way that I like to think about it is that it's the practice of simply being in the present moment. This is a difficult thing for us humans. A lot of times we're thinking about the future, which sometimes can manifest itself as like anxiety, right? Or we're thinking about the past, like, oh my God, this happened and that happened, which can also manifest itself as depression. So it's normal to think about the future and think about the past, right? But it's a real practice of learning how to be in the present moment. It's not something that I'm an expert at by any stretch of the imagination, and it's something that I'm always learning as well. So that's what mindfulness is. So why mindfulness? And I know it's like such a big buzzword these days, but the research has shown us over and over again that it increases our levels of attention, focus, social emotional skills, and well-being. It actually changes the brain for the better. Like, they've done scans before and after, and it's really incredible to see how the brain changes. And it helps one find more balance, right? So who doesn't want to reduce stress and which impacts our health positively, I think more than we even know. So this is a quote that I made up. I work with another teacher, and she said, that people always have quotes, and she put up a quote. She's like, this was my quote. So I don't know, maybe I've said this, but I believe that when we find balance, we help our students find balance, right? So it's twofold in the sense that when we feel balanced, overall, like our day-to-day feels better, right? Like I know I've had days at school where I just feel like insane because I'm tired. But if I go in with a more clear head and I've had a better night's sleep, the same group of students, the same things that are happening don't bother me as much, and I feel better. When we find that balance, I think our students pick up on that as well. So I did tell you about the Calm app. This is what's on their site right now. They are a big for-profit company. I do love the app. I think it's about $60 a year if you want to get someone to pay for it, or your district. They do have a guide online. I've seen it. It's not that, to be honest, it doesn't have too much information. But I think they are planning to maybe put something else out there. So that's the note about the Calm app. Okay, so I want to get into the 3 apps. I'm going to talk about Headspace, Go Noodle, and Stop Breathe Think. They're all downloadable to a device or accessible via the web, and they all promote everything that I've been talking about here. Let's check the time. Okay, so the ways to use the apps, and actually let me see, does anybody use these apps already in their classrooms in some setting? Okay, cool. So this is the ways that I use them. So one way is just a short class activity, maybe at the beginning of class, 5 or 10 minute warm up, a transition, or a brain break. For those of us that have the little kids, an indoor recess. Okay, I like to infuse some movement. Stations, so if you have like iPads or Chromebooks, they can go around to stations and maybe listen to some of these activities. You can do full-on lessons. And of course, use them for yourself. Okay, so these are the 5 ways that I recommend using the apps, and I will be demonstrating that in a minute. So any questions? All right, so let's get into Headspace. I'm going to first show you a short introduction to Headspace here.
Training the mind is often quite different to how people imagine it to be. Maybe they have an idea it's about stopping thoughts or eliminating feelings, but the reality is a bit different. An easy way to think of it is to imagine yourself sitting on the side of a busy road, the passing cars representing the thoughts and the feelings. All you have to do is to sit there and watch the cars. Sounds easy, right? But what usually happens is that we feel a bit unsettled by the movement of the traffic. So we run out into the road and try and stop the cars, or maybe even chase after a few, forgetting that the idea was to just sit here. And of course, all of this running around only adds to the feeling of restlessness in the mind. So training the mind is about changing our relationship with the passing thoughts and feelings, learning how to view them with a little more perspective. And when we do this, we naturally find a place of calm. But we sometimes forget the idea of the exercise and become distracted. Of course we will. But as soon as we remember, here we are, back on the side of the road again, just watching the traffic go by, perfectly at ease in both body and mind.
So that's a little introduction to Headspace.
We're always taught, the more effort we put in, the more...
Oh, you too. Okay. So, so Headspace is actually one of my favorites for if you're just learning how to meditate. I have not honestly used this in the classroom yet. There are particular meditations for students and really young kids up to 5. But if you're just starting out, I really like this one. Andy, I think his last name is Pudicone, started Headspace. He's from the UK and he spent a long time in Asia learning how to meditate. So on every single app or every single meditation, you hear his voice. So if you're someone that doesn't really take to like the British accent, you know, it may not be the best choice for you, or for your students, they might not like that. Or you may reversibly like really like the British accent. So just keep that in mind, and we'll take a little tour right now of the Headspace app. So if you go to headspace.com/educators, and it's linked also in the presentation. Let's just take a quick peek here. You can see, you can log in here, and you can get a free, you can get it for free as an educator. So you just go and you select your school by location, and it takes, I think it happens almost immediately, but you get the full-on access. It's normally $95 a year. You can download the app as well. So let's see here, let me just log in. Of course, I thought I was logged in, but actually let me go over here. Okay, so something I want to show you here is the resources that they have for educators. They've got a daily practice guide. So this is really nice if you're someone that likes to actually read through rather than like click on a whole bunch of links and whatnot. But they've got a whole almost curriculum for yourself, where you can build your practice, work on your sleep, movement, mindful eating, and they talk about how they're committed to education and educators. So this is really nice to check out, and again, that's underneath of the educator resources component of the website. So let's actually take a look at some of the, I'm gonna log in here. I thought I was logged in. Okay, let me just log in. Of course, my password isn't correct during the session.
Your email address is wrong.
Oh yes, thank you. See, you guys, this is what I needed. Let's try this. Hold on 1 second. I apologize. There we go. Yay! All right. So if you go underneath of the, and this is the web component of it, the app on the phone or on the iPad would look very similar, where there's a menu down the side. You can see they have a section for students in particular. What I'm going to show you right now, the part that I personally like the best, is an area called Singles. And these are very short meditations or mindfulness practices. And you can just click on the one that works for you. Let's see, my internet's going a little slow, but I'm just going to scroll through here. Let's say burned out. So you would just click on that, and you click begin. And again, this is why I'm saying this.
So
is
no matter what's
teachers.
going on, right?
So this would be better for educators, I would say, rather than something that you would show in your classroom. So even if you have a break for like a few minutes during lunch or something like that, you want to just take like 3 minutes just to take a deep breath, I would recommend this one. So you can take a little
Frustration, whatever it might be in the body, just allow as much as possible that to be present, come to the surface, knowing that's part of letting it go. And as you pause for a moment, just take a big deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth.
So that's a little sample of Andy. But all of the meditations are kind of like that. And I don't want to make the assumption that you're burned out. I just happened, that one just popped up. So, so let's see here. And also, let's see, if you go down, there's, what I think is very interesting here is that they have a whole entire section for kids for age 5 and under. So that's something to explore if you have a little one at home, or if you're working with very little ones. So just something to point out there about Headspace. Okay, let's see. So let's see here. Just trying to, and I have a few of my favorites marked in this presentation, so you can go ahead and just check that out on your own. They're very well organized. It's a very clean kind of a site on the phone as well as online. And again, it's free for educators. I love that. It's normally actually $95 a year. But again, the challenge with this one would be the British voice. And I know not everyone is so audio oriented. Sometimes it's nice to have a video. Okay, so any questions? Yeah.
So using this with your class would, for the most part, just consist of just playing that audio?
Yeah, I would say just the audio component. Now, if you have older students, there are some videos on YouTube that talk about, in general, like what mindfulness meditation is. So you could check that out as well. But for the most part, it would just be more audio focused and just a listening practice. Yeah.
And if you are an educator, there's a process they wanted you to like select your school or create an account. Is it just you as a teacher that has access, or do your students have access to this as well?
It would just be you as the teacher that has access. However, you can log on multiple devices.
Okay.
So yeah, so that would take a little sussing around, but yep, that's what I would recommend. Yeah, great question, thank you. All right, so let's see. Okay, so the next one that I really love to share with educators is called Go Noodle. So let's, instead of me talking up here, let's actually do one of these. This one is called Shake It Off. And let me unmute.
Take a deep breath and follow along. Life can be messy. A morning at home can be rough. Getting to school and making it through lunch can be challenging. But you have to keep going. You have to shake off those yucky feelings. Your body can help. Shake your fingers. Shake, 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 shake. Stop. Now your hands, shake them like you got them all wet and you want to shake them dry. Just your hands. Shake, 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 shake. Floppy, up or down, side to side, shake, shake, shake. Stop. Be mindful of your neighbors and get your arms into it. Raise them up. Now shake them off. Upper arms, forearms, and yes, fingers and hands too. Shake, 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 shake. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Feeling like you shook off something? You did. Help yourself move forward. Shake off those rough moments. Shake them off and move on.
So this is part of Go Noodle. I love Go Noodle. It's more geared towards elementary. You can go all the way up to 8th grade. And let's maybe do one more that I really like. I don't know if anyone has tried the buzz breath or the bee breath.
As human faces.
Can they recognize
Sorry.
the moose faces?
Good question, and I don't know.
Oh.
But I do know that bee breaths are an amazing way to calm down. To get your bee breath on, sit up straight, close your eyes, put your fingers gently in your ears, and breathe in. Then breathe out, making the sound of a hummingbee. Try it. Now, make sure you're comfy, and let's take some bee breaths. Ready?
Okay.
Breathe in. Hum out. Breathe in and hum out. In and out. In, hum out. Breathe in, hum out. In and out. Breathe in, hum out. Great. Bee breaths are great for when you're frustrated, anxious, or even angry.
Oh, what about when you're hungry, huh?
No.
Oh. But it's worth a try.
So that's the bee breath, the buzz breath, which is also a really great technique. And this is something that you could do with your younger kids. Even your older kids, I think, might sort of like this. And then they have that tool for themselves. Okay. So, yeah, so a little bit more about Go Noodle. It's more geared towards K through 8, and students can actually level up within Go Noodle by completing activity challenges. So let me go into the site here and we can just take a quick peek. Okay, again, I thought I was logged in. It doesn't look like when I see a whole bunch of Go Noodles. Oops. Okay, yeah, so this is what it looks like when you're inside the Go Noodle app, and this is also similar, I think, on the iPad or the phone, and you can see that there's all these different areas to discover. It's broken down by categories here, so it's not just for mindfulness practice. There's really cool math games and activities, and a lot of the Go Noodle applications are movement oriented, which is really, really fun. You can mark your favorites over here, and let's see here. Yeah, and you can see that you can also break it down by movement types. So you could do guided dance, like let's say it was an indoor recess. Again, it's a lot of fun. The kids really enjoy it, and Go Noodle is just so much fun. So I would definitely recommend trying it if you teach the younger grades. And again, I love how it's movement oriented, which is a component of mindfulness. So you get free access for the basic account. If you're in elementary school, I think it's about $1,500, and I could be, they might have increased that. But you can get a whole school access. Go Noodle Plus gives you a few more bits and bobs to do more activities. They give you some different printouts that you can share with your students, so that's $10 per month. So that would be a challenge, but I think it's really fantastic, Go Noodle. Does anyone have any questions about Go Noodle or want to add to using Go Noodle in the classroom? I know we had a couple people say that they've used it or had it. Okay, yeah, so Go Noodle, Go Noodle. All right, so the last app that I'm going to talk about is Stop, Breathe, Think. And Stop, Breathe, Think is actually my favorite one for use in the classroom. I teach high school, and I really like the fact that it was born out of a nonprofit, so it doesn't have any commercial kind of aspects to it. So let's take a look. I think what I want to do here first is show you the site. When you log into it, and again, this link is on the Google Slides document that is out there. You can see that there's this whole section that's called Free for Teachers, and you can claim your lifetime free membership. So they're committed not just, I feel like Calm and maybe Headspace, I know for Calm it's not forever. For Headspace, I'm not sure. But for Stop, Breathe, Think, it is forever. So they're saying, claim your free lifetime membership. And they have this classroom toolkit, which is really nice. So let me show you what that looks like. Again, like let's say you taught middle school, there's a whole toolkit in here. There's check-in posters. Let's see. And let's see, I'll show you. There's even a self-care section for teachers. Oops. Oops, I'm pulling up the wrong thing. But anyway, you guys can check that out. And you can see, I just want to show you what we've got for, let's see, high school here. Okay. Yeah, so there's a whole packet, whole curriculum, and it's really, I think it's a really good starting point if you're thinking about integrating this somehow into your classroom. So there's a whole table of contents. It gives you great lessons and great ideas on how to really integrate it. So that's one aspect of Stop, Breathe, Think that I really love. What I want to show you guys is what it looks like when you download it to your tablet or to your phone.
Hi everyone, this is a quick overview of the Stop, Breathe, Think app. You can see at the bottom there's a menu. Generally speaking, I usually just go straight into the Explore section. This is where all the meditations are added, and this is where they're organized. Here you can see starred meditations and activities. I'm going to point out a few areas that I really like. The first one are the Sleep Well sessions and the Sleepy Time for Kids. I know that those anxious nights where you can't fall asleep happen a lot with us teachers, so there's a ton of really good sleeping well meditations. Next, what I want to point out is a section for teacher favorites, right here in the middle. One of the aspects of Stop, Breathe, Think that I really like is their commitment to educators, and these are all fantastic meditations. One of my favorites is Visualize a Beach. Who doesn't want to take 6 minutes to visualize a beach? In addition, there are some yoga sessions as well, and they are video oriented. I would like to point out a couple more areas. One of them is the For Youth of Color meditations. What I really like about Stop, Breathe, Think is their commitment to youth of color. All of these meditations are written and spoken by people of color, for youth of color, and these can be very impactful for your students. So definitely check that out. I also really enjoy, there's 2 video-oriented areas. So I know I mentioned the yoga section. So we've got yoga for all different types of things that may come up for you, from a 5-minute yoga for sleep up to 15-minute yoga or 17-minute yoga for anxiety. Additionally, there are acupressure videos, which I absolutely love. It's by Dr. Joe. And here he is.
Modern life is stressful.
What I really like about the acupressure videos are they're very well done. You can find the points very easily. And lastly, if you have students who are Spanish speakers, or if you yourself are a Spanish speaker, they have 21 meditations in Spanish. Okay, all of these are also in English too. So that's something to kind of take a look at. Stop, Breathe, Think is a nonprofit, and they are dedicated to educators. So definitely check them out. Thanks, and have a great day.
Yeah, so that little video, I just wanted to show you what it would look like on your tablet or on your phone if you decide that you want to download it. There also is a web-based version, and I want to show you an example of how you would use this maybe in your classroom.
Bulldog finds his quiet place.
And I don't want to maybe do this whole meditation, but I want to just give you a sense of what it looks like. So there's a whole bunch of videos. And again, many of these apps are audio oriented, but what I like about Stop, Breathe, Think is that they have audio and visual. So this is great for the younger kids.
Bulldog just wanted some quiet, but he couldn't find it at home because his brother was practicing the drums in the room next door. And his sister had a friend over, and they were talking and laughing. So he looked for quiet in his parents' room, but the phones kept ringing. Bulldog looked for quiet in his front yard, but the neighbors were having a party with lots of music.
So you can see, like, it kind of goes on and on,
Breathing
and then
in,
it ends up
feel your chest
going
rise.
into an actual meditation.
Breathing
right?
out, feel your
Mindfulness.
chest fall. Breathing in, quiet. Breathing out, quiet. Breathing in, quiet.
So this is really nice, like I said, for the younger students. If you teach high school kids, they also have some that are geared more towards high school. One in particular is called the Lion Mind. That would be this one. So this
Mind by Mind Body Awareness Project. Okay, I'm going to break down this concept called the lion mind and the dog mind. And check this out. Imagine there's a dog in front of me, and in my hand, I've got a bone. I'm waving the bone in front of the dog. Of course, what's the dog doing, right? He's completely following the bone. It's like he can't see anything else. So I take the bone, throw it in the corner, Of course the dog's gonna run after the bone, right? It's almost as if you didn't have a choice to do it. Yeah?
So anyway, I don't want to go through this whole entire meditation. I just wanted to give you a sample of something that if you do teach high school kids, this would be something that you may want to have them listen to. Again, this is not so visual oriented for the high school students. It's more of a listening practice. But this one in particular, the Lion Mind, is a really good one for focus for the older students. Let's see here. So I want to think of other things that I want to tell you about this. If you download the Stop Breathe Think app, there's really great videos for yoga and acupressure. So acupressure is kind of a neat one for your personal use, and maybe at the end, if we have a little extra time, I'll show you that one as well. So to access all of this stuff, again, you're going to go to stopbreathethink.com/educators. You're going to sign up there, and there's just so much information. They're constantly adding to it. So I give them my 2 thumbs up. For sure. I like all of these apps, but this one is definitely my favorite. Let's see, and I think I mentioned all of this. A lot of the adult practices are more audio oriented. And actually, with Stop Breathe Think, I also like the sleeping ones when you're having those nights as an educator where you might have something milling around in your brain. They've got some really good ones that will just totally knock you out. Calm app is excellent for that as well. Shout out to the Calm app, but I didn't want to include that in this session just because it's no longer free for educators. So, Calm app, come on, be free for educators. A couple of other ones. So before I move forward, are there any questions or thoughts about the Stop Breathe Think app? Okay. This is again my favorite for the classroom. So 2 others that I want to mention. One is called Liberate, which is a fantastic free app. It's to support Black, Indigenous, and people of color community in healing to thrive with love. All of the meditators and speakers are all people of color or Indigenous people, and it's awesome. Also, how many people have heard of Insight Timer? Insight Timer is just this massive web space, and you can also download it, of meditations, and it's totally free. It's almost like there's a little bit of everything in there. So I would say definitely, if you're gonna use Insight Timer, again, you just go to insighttimer.com and I'll link everything in there. So, you want to preview it, of course, before you would share it with your students, right? So, but that's also a really amazing space with people adding, I think there's it says 35,000. I feel like it's even more than that. So that's the app sort of portion of the session. The other 2 aspects of being a mindful Techducator involves mindful tech integration. And I'm not going to go so deep into this right now because that's what I'm sure you've been doing for the past couple of days. But of course you want to ask yourself, does the technology promote the 3 C's and or well-being? I like to say that if my students look like this, I don't want to have a lot of media that looks like this, okay? Typical work images or school images are a lot of white people, right? I don't really teach that many white students. And so what I like to try to make sure I include in my media that I'm showing are pictures of students that look like my students. It's really important to me. So just keep that in mind. It's easy to forget, especially if you're not a person of color, okay? Or a person with a disability, or whatever it is. But I think it's just nice to reflect your students in the world at large, right? So the representation definitely matters, and it does make a difference to the students. There we go. So the last part of being a mindful Techducator involves that balancing screen time and tech time, which I know for me is always a little bit of a challenge. So let's take a look at this.
Pass the green beans.
Oh, are you guys seeing this? I mean, you can't make a mistake like that so early in the meal. Let's go to the replay.
Look at him. He wants to pass left, but his eyes are all over his phone.
Oh! Green beans all over the place!
That's just sloppy play.
Guess who would have caught the green beans? Jerry Rice.
Hey, we got Ronnie locked down at the dinner table. Ronnie, you're in the middle of the action. What's going on?
Why'd you spill the beans?
It's Ronnie Lott.
Why did you spill the beans?
Why'd I what now?
Green beans! Give me that.
Me.
Back to you, Steve. Ronnie Lott just intercepted our phones.
So that's an awesome video. That's from Common Sense Media, which I love. So integrating that balance is something that we're all working towards all the time. So Common Sense Media has a ton of research-backed literacy lesson plans to create healthy habits. So you can check that out. Again, you're going to go to Mindful Tech Ed 20, and there's a link in there for that, as well as the link to family media plans from the American Academy of Pediatrics. And these numbers are kind of, I feel like the data is changing as they're doing more research around how much time is a healthy amount of time. But this is what the American Academy of Pediatrics are recommending now. So you can take a read through of that. Yeah, I actually asked my students recently to take a look at how their screen time component of their phones, and I was shocked. I mean, literally like 7 hours, 8 hours. So I'm not sure when they're doing this, but it's very concerning, right? So something to think about. So for me, I have an iPhone, so I try to use the iOS screen time limit function. However, there's this other little button, and I think it's something in my brain, where you can just click ignore limit. And I feel like I do that all the time. So like I'll go into Facebook and I'll be like reading stuff or Instagram, and it's like ignore, and then I'm like, oh, ignore limit. So these kinds of things, they can work if you're motivated enough to say, okay, I'm gonna really go with the limit there and, pay attention to it and not override it, but that can be difficult. So there's a few apps here that can really help you reduce your screen time. And one of my favorites is this one called Space. Space was actually created by neuroscientists. So these are the people that actually helped create the app, like the apps that are so addictive, like Instagram and Facebook and all the social media apps. They reverse engineered it so that instead of getting that like pop of excitement when you see the little red heart bubble, this is what happens. So let me show you. So you can add it onto Chrome, I think. You can definitely add it onto your phone. So I'm going into Facebook, and look at what happens. You get this thing, and it pops up. You just take a deep breath in and out. I don't need to check Facebook. Done with that. So that is so cool, and they have it for the phone as well. So you can attach it to, I think, let's see, definitely Facebook, Instagram. They probably have other ones, but that is definitely my favorite. So yeah, check that one out. There's another one called the Forest app, and what Forest does, you can download this to your phone. You can set time limits for certain apps. And what actually happens is that when you set the time limit, a little tree grows. And I think you do have to pay for the app, but any money, I think it's like $2 or something. And then when you pay for it, they actually donate money towards forests. So that's kind of cool. So the Forest app is a good one to check out. Another one that I just found out about yesterday is called Stay Focused. And that you can find on you can do it for the Chrome web browser, as well as, again, for your phone. I think it is a little bit of a fee, but again, that can help you to stay off of those social media apps or whatever kind of website that you don't want to look at. And that helps you to stay more focused. And again, Moment is another one that I would recommend. But again, my favorite is the Space app. With mindfulness, there's so much stuff, and it's coming out all the time. So again, I've linked this into my presentation. There's some really great books. I like the one in the top corner up here, Mindfulness, Finding Peace in a Frantic World. And again, I would check out Mindful Schools. They're doing a lot of work with mindfulness, and it's all research backed. And what I like to say is that the answer is in the room. So especially when it comes to the phones, does anyone want to share about how you balance tech in your life, in your classroom? Anything that you want to share, any questions that you may have? I know for our district, we're constantly battling, like, how do we handle the phones? Yeah, so hopefully we'll get a policy in place that's, maybe just not having them in the room, period. But yeah, does anyone want to share? Yeah.
Well, I have 2 teenagers, and I always start out good with the right idea. Take their phones away from them at night. Make sure they're in another room. And I do it for a few days, and then I just get caught up with everything, and I slip and stop doing it, and they go right back into having the phone with them all night, and I go right back into feeling guilty about it. But it's hard to keep up with because it is such just a part of them at this point, and it's so hard to do. And I wish I had more, I don't even know what, more something to see it through with that. More conviction or more something. I know when my kids were younger, a girlfriend of mine, and I always loved this idea, whenever she had the grade school kids over, she would have, rather than looking at them sitting on their phones the whole time instead of at each other, she would have a basket. As you come in, put the phone in. And they did it, and she said the interaction was so much more between the kids at that point. But again, it just takes conviction, and you have to stick with it, or it's useless.
Yeah, and I know, it's really difficult. Like, I have one of these setups in my room, kind of like this, and I find that some of my students are so addicted to checking that they want to, like, stand up and they'll go over to it. And I'm like, where are you going?
And I think because the kids never had life without these devices, they don't remember it. They don't see anything wrong with this because they never knew anything before this.
Exactly.
So I wonder what it's going to be like when they have kids.
Exactly.
You know?
I know. I'm with you.
So it's a really interesting case for my students because I teach at a cyber charter school, and we will have parents who are involved and diligent, and then they'll come to us and maybe vent their frustrations that, well, in order for my student to attend all of their classes and be the best student they can be, they're sitting in front of a computer staring at a screen for 5 straight hours to attend classes in the virtual classroom all day long, and that's all their school day on top of anything else they might do for entertainment or fun. So it's an incredible struggle for us, and then you also incorporate the fact that when they're in class, I have no way of knowing if they're paying attention, if they're over on Facebook, whatever, we don't see when they've pulled their phone out and they're just totally zoned out doing something different. So it's a really, really difficult question in that environment.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of pocket points?
Yes, actually I have heard of pocket points, and I wanted to ask if anyone has used that.
We're looking at it maybe
Yeah.
for like next school year
Yeah,
because we
sure.
hadn't been like familiar with it, but we haven't even really, just a couple of us have downloaded it and kind of checked out the app, but we haven't gone to it yet, but it seems like something that might
help. Yeah, it's. Oh, okay.
There's definitely, like, you have to be prepared to set it up.
Okay.
And put in your own incentives. But I've had students use it on the weekend, in the cars and driving at 9th and 12th grade. And they earn points for local places, so Chick-fil-A is a big one.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
they earn points with them. But like in my classroom, they can earn all kinds of different things.
For those, so for those people that might not be familiar, so if you, it's called pocket points, by keeping your phone in your pocket and not accessing it for so much time, you accumulate points. And you can set it up by like GPS, like set up your school or your classroom.
That's very interesting.
So that
Okay.
when it enters, like the phone enters that space, if it's dormant for this long, they earn so many points. And by earning so many points,
Right.
you can incentivize, like if you earn this many points, you can receive this. Sometimes local businesses will sponsor, you get a free drink at Dunkin' Donuts if you accumulate X amount of points. So that's
Yeah.
something that we're kind of looking at but haven't gone to yet.
It sounds really cool. I know that there's someone that I follow on social media that really says that it's amazing. And do the kids have to sign up? Like is it an
They
easy
download-
sign up?
yeah, they download the app.
Download it, and then
Okay.
my class, like each of my classes have a code, so they log in with their code.
Okay.
The only thing is they do have to be okay with location services being on, because I will not do it unless they can verify that they're in. So mine is for school.
Right.
And it's set for the time that they are in my particular classroom.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's
so
cool.
location services can be only.
And it's free, right? Right now? Okay. So yeah, so guys, check out Pocket Points. That's a good one. I'm going to check that one out as well. And yeah, those rewards can be, I know my students would love like Dunkin' Donuts or Chick-fil-A. I think that sounds amazing. Yeah, so guys, definitely, follow along here. I linked everything onto this so you don't have to write anything down. And yeah, I'm definitely keep in touch. Yeah.
I just wanted to share the Chrome extension that I have on my computer. It's called Move It. So you can set an interval. So like when you're on the computer, if you set it for like 20 minutes or something, it'll tell you to like do 10 push-ups or do 15-second wall sit or something like. So, well, you have it on your computer. So like I have an architecture app doing the directions or something. So they'll see every like 20 minutes it'll say something for them to do. So it requires them to set up now. There's do something they're working on.
That's really cool. Okay, so that's called I'm gonna check that out. Thank you. Guys, does anyone have anything else to share? Yeah.
This is for everybody thinking about making like there's a book called How to Break Up with Your Code. And it has a 30-day detox plan.
Oh my god. Okay, I need to read this.
Even if you don't do the detox, it goes into like the science behind apps and how they kind of help you. So it kind of makes you think like when you're breaking up your code, like why do I do stuff with this
Sure.
board or am I actually really productive right now?
Oh, thank you.
It's a really good book.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
One other comment I just wanted to mention, I teach 8th grade science, and I'm not usually thinking so much about these mindfulness types of things throughout the school year and throughout my course, but when state testing comes along, and in addition to the PSSAs or for the high schoolers keystones, we have an end of year benchmark in the platform that we use in our school, and I know they're burnt out, stressed, overwhelmed, and that is a time where I have specifically set aside time to use I found a mindfulness meditation just on YouTube once. And I think that's a really great opportunity for them when they're under that stress and that time of year.
Yeah, I think Headspace has an exam one, and I know that Calm has one for test anxiety as well. Yeah, so guys, I just wanted to leave you with this little poem. It says, or this little picture, it says, what are you doing? I'm using my device. The guy's lying down. What is your device? My device is the sky. Does your device have many applications? Yes, it has the sun, the moon, the clouds, and birds. And do you have to recharge your device very often? I don't ever have to recharge my device. It recharges me. So that being said, thank you guys so much, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And I love any advice, anything that you have to share, because we're all in this together. So thank you guys. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop up. No, I'm so glad. It is so nice to see someone in the Wow, okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You know what? If they take that, I would love to watch that.
Yes, that's, okay. That was like as a rollout with it.
Oh my god, I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Yeah,
That's
like
really,
whatever the
really
maximum
like to
amount of
hear.
points would
I also feel like
be, simply by not having one with you, we would give the, like, you would have those kids, you would have to say like, before the kids,
I
come
think that
in,
would be great.
like, you would say, hey, how many do you have? So you have to like get it from home, and then just say if you don't have it, then we will max you out.
Oh my god,
points
no, I
every day.
appreciate that feedback. Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
And we'll get yeah.
Which is all for the benefit anyway.
Yes.
Like, you know,
You're,
we're
so
still a
you're,
team.
yeah, that's the goal.
So,
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Thank you. I'm just hopeful, you know, if people want to use this stuff, it helps them. That's great.
That exactly.
So thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You too. Safe drive home.
Thank you.
I'll be in Cheltenham for 2 weeks.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
I go and observe for Middle States.
Oh, that's
So I'll be
awesome.
at presentation, UVM.
Okay,
Right at the train
fantastic.
track. So the only thing I know about it.
Okay. Oh, well, and what was your name?
Liz.
Liz. Okay. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
This comes in handy when I do that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Middle
gosh.
States observing and I have to write
Yes.
all the reports. and
Yes,
stuff.
it's really good. Oh my god. I also am always using it. Yeah.
It'd be easy to go home. in the car.
I know. I was just thinking that. I'm like, can I set this up? Exactly.
Well, somebody else is driving, so I definitely can. Put it
There
in
you
their
go.
phones and I'm done.
Yep. It makes it go by. I'm just gonna thank you. You too. All right. Let's see. Taking a picture of myself. Okay. Let me do the timer.